Shame is the most powerful thing in the world. It's a very strong, powerful emotion. Arguably the most powerful emotion, right? It's probably more powerful than anger and hate and even, I guess, love, if that's what you want to call it, right? That's how powerful shame is. If you really think about it, shame has the ability to override logic itself. Think about it. How many people have turned against their own religion because they were shamed for it? How many have betrayed their own families because they were shamed by society? How many have turned against their own values, their own morals, and even their own logic, all because of shame? Isn't that crazy? Shame can literally break a person. It can force a person to deny reality itself. Shame can cause someone to go against what they know is right, just so they can escape the weight of shame, right? I mean, just think about it, right? Maybe you used to be somewhat religious, and then because you were shamed for it, you stopped being religious, right? Right? Or maybe you were kind of decent in school, but because people were shaming you for being a nerd, you started slacking off, and you lost all that. And now your grades are worse, right? All because of shame. And if we're being honest, your bullying, right, which is a topic a lot of people love to discuss, is basically just shame, right? Before it becomes physical, it is shame, right? And think about something that's super logical, right? Like, for example, junk food is bad. But because people are shamed into, oh, that's too extreme. Oh, no, it's okay to cope. It's fine. That they will literally defy basically logic and science itself, right? It's crazy to think about, right? I mean, realistically, shame just, the weight of shame is just unbearable, right? And people will act like, oh no, I'm different. Very rarely are people actually different and can handle the weight of shame, right? But those people are very few, right? I mean, realistically, people go like to college or university because of shame too, right? Or they go into work because of shame again, right? They will do literally waste their whole life doing a career they don't like because of shame. Right? That's how powerful shame is. And I mean, even if we look at the way the world is run, right, and how like shame literally controls the world. I mean, we literally live like in a world where shame is weaponized against people every single day. Right? Just turn on the news and you'll see it. Right? I mean, the most famous example is cancel culture. Right? They shame people. Right? Even like public shaming. Right? People also conform to social pressure because of shame. Right? Oh, I don't want to get into arguments. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that because shame. Right? Even politicians use shame to manipulate people. Right? Literally take anything. Right? Oh, if you don't support us, even if we're wrong, right? Even if we're wrong, you're this and you're this, and we'll shame you for it, right? Even corporations use shame to sell you things you don't need. Oh, if you don't have this car that's like has two doors and it's overpriced, even though every car can get you from one destination to another, then you're broke, right? And the whole idea of money and being rich, right? A lot of people, I don't want to say all of them, right? But a lot of people make money because of shame, right? Because they don't like feeling broke. And again, nothing wrong with that, right? But that's one of the few exceptions to where shame is actually a positive thing, right? Shame is like, even in social media, you see like, shame to keep, you know what I mean? They even social media uses shame, right? Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram or wherever else, literally. Right? So it keeps you in line with the most popular opinion, right? Shame is the reason why people blindly follow trends, right? Even if those trends are literally ridiculous, right? Shame is why people are afraid to speak their mind, even if they know the truth, right? Because, you know what I mean? Oh, you shouldn't tell people they're fat. That's that's not nice. Even though the guy could be literally dying from diabetes, you know what I mean? We're not allowed to say it because again, you've been shamed for speaking the truth. Shame is why men become weak, and why weak men never become strong, right? Shame is also why women also get away with being rude, right? You're not allowed to talk back to women in a certain way, right? And it's like, shame basically keeps people in check, and it has a narrative, right? You can spin it any way you want, right? Actually, even in the world, right, in the world of martial arts, people are shamed into wearing the gi. The gi jiu-jitsu is literally ridiculous, and wearing the gi is literally, you're just basically wearing a communist jacket, right? I'll probably make a video on that separately, right? The gi actually has origins with communism and socialism, right? Which is another, right? But people literally wear it because they're ashamed for it. Oh, if you don't get your this belt and this belt, right? And if you tap out to a white belt, even though you're like a purple belt or a brown belt, it's like the end of the world for people, right? Shame, right? Shame. It's crazy, you know? A warrior dies when he stops fighting. But most warriors never even enter the battle because they're too ashamed to stand alone, right? Shame is, man, it's just ridiculous how this one emotion can destroy like anything, right? It can destroy even the strongest people, right? Shame and being ridiculed because of that shame, right? Being tested because of, again, that shame, right? Right. So how can we actually utilize, you know what I mean? We've talked about the negatives of shame, right? And how it's so powerful. It can literally override logic itself. So how can we turn this negative into a more of a positive thing, right? All right. And unfortunately, most people use shame in a negative way, right? To destroy themselves or to destroy others, right? But what if I told you shame could be your greatest ally? You see, shame, just like any other emotion, right? And it's like fire. It can burn you down, or it can forge you into steel, right? And realistically, shame is, like I said, it's an emotion, right? And I actually think I think it was Brendan Carter. Actually, he's the one who said like, you know, emotions are just basic chemicals. I mean, chemical reactions of the mind. Love, you know, hate, anger, again, shame, right? In a way, that's what it is, right? So it's not real in the sense that, like how this money is real, right? Actually, even the money is. That's probably a bad example because it's not backed by anything, right? That's a separate point. But like this pen, that's real, right? This pen is real, right? but you can't like feel like an emotion per se. I can't show you it. I can show you examples of it, but I can't like show you the literal emotion, right? But despite that, this chemical reaction is super strong, right? So what you need to do if you want to use shame for, you know, basically for a positive benefit, what you need to do is shame yourself for your bad habits, right? Like we discussed, shame is so powerful that people will override logic itself, right? So, you know, you shouldn't be eating junk food, right? You should shame yourself for it, right? Right? And of course, don't take it too far where it's like you just start becoming depressed or whatever, right? Right? Maybe one thing you can do if you eat junk food, and again, I recommend watching my other video where I talk about how to quit junk food forever, where just like I did, right? You know you shouldn't be eating junk food. So what you can do is maybe give 50 push-ups or 50 squats, right? Or 50 pull-ups or whatever, right? That is one way to shame yourself for it, right? Every single time, right? For any bad habit that you have, you can do it, right? Right? You need to punish yourself for it, right? Shame, and right? Basically, you're just shaming yourself for it, right? And again, even when it comes to training, right, and skipping training, shame yourself for it. If you wake up and you don't feel like working out, remind yourself that weakness should always be shamed, right? And again, you punish yourself with it, right? Again, 50 push-ups, 50 squats can be a great way to punish yourself, right? Shame yourself for making excuses. Every time you make an excuse, you're letting shame beat you, right? So the negative shame is beating you, right? Whereas the positive shame, right? Again, 50 push-ups, 50 squats. That's just one example I'm just using, right? For the shame, it could be any other thing, right? It could be, oh, every time I like do a bad habit, I have to donate $5 or whatever, right? It could be anything, right? Anything that you kind of like, it kind of stings if it makes sense, you know. Like if you're serious about it, shame is actually the most powerful thing in the world. Like I said, right? It's the most powerful emotion, right? And if you know what I mean. So another thing is, like we're talking about shaming your bad habits, but we need to shame you also for not fulfilling the good ones, the good habits, right? Let's say, for example, right, if you set a goal to read every day, right, let's just say an hour a day or 10 pages a day, right? But if you skip it, you need to feel that shame and let it burn, right? You need to do 50 push-ups, 50 squats, right? Or donate $50 or whatever, right? Right? Anytime you skip on any good habit that you have, right? Right? If you said you would start training, but keep slacking, again, use that same shame as fuel, right? Like start, you know what I mean? By punishment is actually a great way to, again, build that positive shame, right? Because we don't want that negative shame where we just quit, right? Now we want that positive shame. Oh man, I don't feel like training, but if I don't train, then I have to do 50 push-ups and 50 squats. Yeah, no, I'm gonna just go train. I'm gonna just go train instead, right? So yeah, that shame like keeps you in check, right? And if you're kind of interested in what I do, right, um, I actually do. This is why I actually recommend the 50 push-ups, 50 squats thing. I don't do the 50 push-ups, 50 squats. I do like ab exercises personally. That's what I do, right? But you can do or whatever else, right? But make it like a consistent thing. You know what I mean? Right? If you decide, oh yeah, it's gonna be like $50 to a charity organization, right? Don't set the shame so low that it doesn't burn. No, it has to burn a little bit. I'm not saying overdo it, but just a little bit, right? Where you just feel that burn, right? And you don't want to be there again, right? And this is the difference between the weak and the strong, is how they use shame, right? The weak let shame break them, the strong let shame push them forward, right? I mean, think about like a group, like when, just like during war times, right? When armies would go and fight, you don't think people didn't want to go? No, they would go because literally for them, not going was worse, a worse shame than dying on the battlefield, right? There's many examples of this throughout history, right? The Spartans, the Mamluks, I'm sure the Mongols, right? Many different warriors throughout history have done this, right? Because that shame of not going into battle, right? Or fleeing the battle, for example, it was worse than death itself, right? So we can literally use that same type of mindset here, right? And mastering shame so that we could master life itself, right? And unfortunately, people have been controlled by the wrong type of shame, the shame of propaganda, the shame of basically these. Why would I let these other normies out there, right? That, like the average American, right? And like this is just probably the average person in general, which is overweight. Why would I let? Why would I let them dictate their opinion on me, right? And let them shame me? If anything, it should be the other way around, right? Right? The average person just has so many bad habits and never chooses to improve. Why would I let the average person determine, let their opinion determine me and let them shame me? So you know what I mean? The only one that is allowed to shame me is me, right? And I guess like, if you have, let's just pretend if you had good friends, right? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But yeah, I hope I made my point clear, right? That shame is actually very powerful if it is used in the right direction. Like shame is the most powerful thing in the world, right? Shame could literally, you know, change your life so much for the better, right? And it's unfortunate people will see it as this ultra negative emotion, right? When really, like I've discussed, it can be this ultra powerful, like motivational, even driving force, inspirational driving force that you could have, right? Right. So one thing I want you guys to do is go in the comment section below and write down maybe something you were shamed for, right? It could be, I was shamed for working out, right? And then I want you to write after that, I'm gonna start shaming myself for skipping working out or something. You get what I mean? Like a positive, like a negative way you were shamed, and then write a counter to that positive way you're going to start shaming yourself, right? To start doing things, right? Right. The point is though, use shame to literally drive your life in the right direction, right? And at the end of the day, it should be you driving it, not someone else, right? Because why do we need someone else to drive that into us, right? Because I don't know where they're going to take me, so I'd rather be, you know what I mean? I don't know where they're going to take me, so I'd rather be the driver of my destiny, right? Even if I have to use shame, right? Right? And shaming tactics are actually very effective, right? Like maybe even if you can shame people, right, in a positive way, why not? You know what I mean? Right? Shame people for being overweight. Shame people for doing jiu-jitsu, right? Shame people for doing drugs. Of course, we should be shaming people for this. Right? That's like a default, right? Right? This way, we can change society for the better, right? So that way, less people are overweight. No one does jiu-jitsu, right? No one does drugs, right? Alcohol and all this, right? All because we were trying to shame them, right? It's that simple. Like, think about it. Like, your whole life, anytime you want to do something, right? You might even want to start recording videos or whatever, right? But because, again, you feel that shame, or what are these people, such and such, going to say? What is that person going to say? And you're letting the wrong type of shame dictate your life. When really, it should be you dictating that life, right? And look, at the end of the day, shame can either break you or it can make you stronger, right? And I'd rather be stronger than weaker, right? So if I have to, you know, in a way, just shame myself to success, then so be it. You know what I mean? I'd rather shame my way to success than be shamed, you know what I mean, for being a failure by you guys, right? Or your definition of success, right? But, if you want to learn how you can utilize shame as a powerful tool to benefit your life, you can join my Patreon. The link is in the description below. But, of course, like and subscribe to this channel, and even share this video with someone you feel like doesn't know how to use shame properly or has been shamed a lot in their life. Right? Send this to them. Right? Let them know how they can use shame as that powerful, inspirational force to drive them to be better in life. But yeah, until next time.